Hello, good evening. I forgot to turn this light on again. Here it goes. How are you this fine Wednesday evening? It is Wednesday, April the 29th. We have one more day, and then it's going to be May. Cue the Justin Timberlake memes. It's going to be May. You know what I'm saying? We're a little early tonight. I have something else going on in the studio here a little bit later, so I thought I'd give myself a little bit extra time to rearrange things before... Ow! Hang no. Jeez. Cuticles. Before I change things up tonight, it is, like I said, Wednesday, April the 29th. If you have no idea what day it is, sometimes earlier today I swore it was Tuesday. It's not. It's Wednesday. It's almost May. We're on so the producer earlier, she told me that we're on day 44 of this coronavirus stay-at-home lockdown thing here in Summit County, Colorado. We went into Breckenridge today, went to the shop. My wife owns a business on Main Street, Breckenridge. And we went into the shop to do a little cleaning. And there was a bit more activity than we had seen in the last few weeks. So maybe things are starting to feel a little bit more lax. I don't know. The stay-at-home order in Colorado is now the safer-at-home order. The Summit County provisions, however, of this are still a little bit more strict than the state of Colorado. We have to stay at home as much as possible. Wear a mask wherever you go. And yeah, there's a bunch of sanctions and things that I don't really have committed to memory. I've been abandoned tonight by the producer. She decided tonight's not her night. So I'm trying to do this, make sure people are here, and do my reading. There's 6 folks. I don't know who is here. Douglas. Oh, the volume's up. Elizabeth Nordquist. I'm pretty sure that's Elizabeth Banks. These maiden names throw me for a bit. Hi, Sarah Weston Scow. Dillon Valley represent. How you doing over there? Tonight's reading comes from... Let me back up. There's a couple of things I wanted to address. One is... So we're day 44-ish into the COVID-19 coronapocalypse, coronavirus stay-at-home order, social distancing lockdown. How many pounds have you gained during quarantine? Myself, I got on the scale this morning. I'm hovering at about 8 pounds. 8. That's almost 10 pounds. Because what else can you do? Sit around the house and eat. I mean, the work that I'm doing right now, because I have some legitimate work to do, is all editing work. So I sit in front of a computer. But then if I'm in the house, I eat food. Or if we're watching TV, I eat food. Or if we're eating a meal, I eat food. So I'm hovering at 8 pounds. Back on March the 14th, I think it was, I said on Facebook, you can go back and check this, my greatest fear about the coronapocalypse is gaining the COVID-19. I'm at 8 pounds. If this thing keeps up much longer, I'm going to be at like baby weight, if you know what I'm talking about. When my daughter was born, I was a big boy, and I had gained a lot of sympathy weight as a husband during the pregnancy. We don't want that to happen. So folks, governors, if you're watching this, government officials, for the sake of my health, we need to shut this thing down so we can get back out and start doing normal things. That's all I'm saying. Okay? That's where I go. The Telltale Heart is where we are reading from tonight. The Telltale Heart. I have to pull this up on my phone because that's where my notes are, because my printer is offline. Me and printers don't get along very well. The Telltale Heart is a short story by American writer Edgar Allan Poe, first published in 1843. It is related by an unnamed narrator who endeavors to convince the reader of the narrator's sanity while simultaneously describing a murder the narrator committed. That is just a brief synopsis of what the Telltale Heart entails. This week's readings do come from Edgar Allan Poe. We have this book right here. It is the complete stories and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. And I will go to the selected page. Again, I have been abandoned by the producer tonight, so I don't get any notes. I don't get any direction. I don't get any letting me know who's here. I'm left to my own devices. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes usually it's not such a good thing because I go longer. I don't know if she's watching. I told her to tune in. I don't even know if she's watching. Hi, Shelley. Mike Hawkswell, Beth Keller, Doug Yates. Good people. Y'all are good people. Here we go. This is an excerpt from The Telltale Heart. Because it is too long to read the entire thing, I'm starting several paragraphs into the story. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe... Pardon me. This is part of the gag that I got to do. See, I don't have the producer over here telling me what to do and when. If you still think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned, and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been too wary, for that. A tub had caught all. When I think this is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story. Even though it is about murder and dismembering a body and hiding the body. When I was a kid in high school, I went with some friends to Rollins College in Orlando, Florida, and we saw a person do Edgar Allan Poe monologues on stage at the theater. And this was one of the pieces that he did, and I will never forget that. When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definitiveness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such as a sound as a watch makes when in talked, more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in the high key and with violent gesticulations. But the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro in heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observation of the men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh, God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore, I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting, and it grated upon the boards, and the noise arose over all, continually increased. It grew louder, 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 and still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no, they heard, they suspected, they knew, they were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think, but anything was better than this agony, and anything was more tolerable than this derision I could bear. Those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die. And now again, hark, louder and louder and louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here is the beating of his hideous heart. Wow. The intensity of such writings from Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. It is impactful still to this day. I watched it on stage many years ago of a man dressed like Edgar Allan Poe who read the Telltale Heart, who monologued it from memory. Whew. There are no dead bodies on this floor. I just want you to know. There are none. I promise you. However, I am still impacted greatly by this Edgar Allan Poe. Woo! That is the Telltale Heart from Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. Born in 1809, died in 1849. That made him 40 years old. When he died, he lived in Baltimore. He lived in Philadelphia. He lived in New York City. He was an American legend. Tragic life. Father left. Mother died. Child, bride, also died. It makes sense why Edgar Allan Poe had such a disturbed look on things. That is my reading for tonight. Tomorrow night, so I have Thursday and Friday. I think we're going to go a little bit longer than 1 week with Mr. Edgar Allan Poe, just because there's a lot of good material here. We have Annabelle Lee left. We have the Landor's Cabin, Purloined Letter. What else is in this book? There's a lot of good stuff in here. I have a good neighbor who left this on their front porch, mysteriously. Bernice, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Pit and the Pendulum, A Tale of the Ragged Mountains, Morella, Thou Art the Man. I mean, there is tons of good stuff in here. So we may keep this going more than just 1 week. It is Wednesday. We've got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week left to do, and I think we're covered there. Annabelle Lee is going to be a big one, I think, for me, because I think Annabelle Lee is good. Also, friends of mine named their daughter Annabelle Lee because they were such fans of Edgar Allan Poe. It's just going to be an emotional moment for me. But tonight, I got to go. I need to rearrange the studio here for something else that's going to happen in a little bit. So I appreciate you joining me. Let's see who else joined while I was reading. Oh, Callie Hall, Pittsburgh. How you doing? Kate Hudnut. Meridian Alley represent. Looks like it's it. That's good. Again, the producer abandoned me this evening. Hopefully next time, tomorrow, she'll be here, but we will see. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Murph. This is Reading Things with a Southern Accent, 2020, episode 33. 32 or 33? I'll figure that out. And please, wash your hands. Good night.